Good evening to everybody. On behalf of Philosophy family, I extend a hearty welcome to all the students, teachers of philosophy of our country and abroad. Friends, today we have a very beautiful topic, and that is an attempt for resolution, the alternation disjunction issue, and this topic will be very beneficial to all our students of our country. And today we have with us Professor Dr. K. Narayanaa Rao, the head Department of Logic and Philosophy, Niranjan Government Women's College, Aska, Brahmapur from Odisha. And Dr. K. Narayanaa Rao is a very popular figure not only in our state but in abroad. And because on every Sunday, all of us witness his philosophical reflection while moderating the programs of philosophy family. And Dr. Rao has a 24 years of teaching experience in UG and PG in different government colleges of Odisha. And Dr. Rao is a popular teacher, writer, and auditor. And to his credits, he has published more than 15 books in philosophy and in other disciplines. All the books have gained popularity among the students of our country. I don't want to speak much of him because he's a popular figure and popular teacher. Today, it's my pride privilege to welcome Dr. Rao to this webinar as a speaker. And with this, I also welcome the senior professors, those are with us now, Professor Akwaleschandra Das sir, Professor Anu sir, and others. I also welcome our admin, convener, and host, Professor Pramod Kumar Das, to this Sunday webinar. With this, once again, I extend my hearty welcome to all of you. I don't want to spare much time. I would like to invite and request Professor Dr. K. Narayanaa Rao to commence his talk on an attempt for resolution, the alternation disjunction issue. Over to Dr. Rao.
Namaskar and good evening, everybody. Well, this alternation disjunction issue, actually, it has become an issue, as I say, because uh, it is creating certain problems, especially to the students and to some extent to the teachers. Uh, while taking these concepts, actually. What I could see is actually there is no problem in the concept as it is. The problem lies in naming the concept. Well, things are more or less clear at the degree level. Well, in the degree level, we study Basson and O'Connor, where alternation and disjunction are appropriately taken and studied. There is no problem at the degree level. I thought more of the young teachers who have joined the service would be joining this webinar, because it is for them actually the confusion would be, I think, it would have been a platform to resolve many things. Because when I admit, when I used to study, rather many of us used to study, we used to study, say, either or form of propositions as alternative proposition. We used to study. There is no doubt about it that we used to study that either or type of propositions. We used to study them as alternative propositions, and the propositions of the form either P or Q, but not both P and Q form of propositions as disjunctive propositions. We used to study. Yes, I agree. But over a period of time, throughout the globe, okay, this naming has somehow changed, and and the people all over to admit to come up with a uh, uh, formalizing things by saying that either or type of propositions are disjunctive propositions, and not both P and Q type of propositions are alternative propositions. So accordingly, keeping this in mind, many of the logicians of the state, especially the logicians who have written the book for the textbook bureau, uh, the government-sponsored publication, wherein they have taken this traditional pattern of usage of alternation of disjunction very seriously, and they tried to resolve this issue by very rightly pointing out in the preface that since many years that the usage of alternation and disjunction is somehow misleading to the students and for all concerned. So certain changes have to be brought in, they have to be incorporated over a period of time. So with this objective, the writers of the textbook bureau, which includes even Professor Ranjit Ghosh sir, Kailas Das sir, and I see R.C. Das sir also, who used to be there, even Dhaneshwar Sahu sir, who were actually Saroj Mahanti sir, Harishchandra Sahu sir, who were in the panel, who were actually in the board of writing that textbook bureau book, wherein in the preface they have made it clear. I have just noted out the lines in which they have written in the preface. In the textbook bureau, it reads, quote, in conformity with the standard practice adopted in most textbooks, the terms disjunction and disjunctive in disjunctive proposition have been used in this textbook to signify the inclusive sense of either or. We have used the term alternative as it occurs in alternative proposition to signify the exclusive or the stronger sense of either or. On this, some logic textbooks have given a different account. We hope that for the sake of accuracy and uniformity, these changes will be incorporated in these textbooks in the near future. So this was the this was in the preface, and I think 7 to 8 years have passed by, and even I writing my own, I'm writing my book, even with Anupray sir, we tried to change in conformity with the bureau's book, and that was rightly so, I think. I don't know, but still the problem exists. And what was more disturbing for me is when I was evaluating the answer script of logic this year. I saw that even the questions that were asked, the multiple choice questions, say a question which can be answered, say, as alternative proposition, which can be answered as disjunctive, because some, by making a reference to some books, the answer would be alternative proposition, and by reference to other books, the alternative would be disjunctive proposition. So it is a multiple choice question. So that's how the student is liable to lose some marks. So that created a sort of problem in my mind, that even though many years have passed, but this problem still exists while teaching logic among the students, with the teachers also. That's why this problem still persists, because in the answer scripts, around 50% students they have written as per the old format, or but and 50% in the new format. So I, understanding the scenario, awarded marks to the students in both the formats, because there is no problem with the students, because what we communicate, they learn. Okay, so I don't say any of this format is wrong. The problem lies with naming. So there is no problem in the concept as it is, because we understand um, whenever there is a proposition of the form either or, okay, we deny one of the one of the disjuncts, so you can affirm the other. So this concept is more or less clear with us. So the concept wise, there is no problem. The problem lies in naming. So there, I was a bit disturbed when, well, there is no problem with the students, because while coming across certain books, they have a certain format. While studying other books, they have a different format. So nothing problem lies with the students. So my concern is a certain sort of uniformity should be maintained, because even the problem lies in the question setting also. Okay, why I say the problem lies in question setting? Because uh, because when we find that such problem is existing, we should not give alternatives of that sort. So that would be confusing for the students, because they don't sometimes. What I do is, in order to avoid students from passing this problem, I ask my students to, whenever a question on such sort comes, say a question comes, say construct a truth table for an alternative proposition. So I asked my students, if a truth table is asked to construct an alternative proposition, make it clear that according to some logicians, they take alternative proposition as either or proposition. But some do take alternative proposition of the form in the form either P or Q, but not both P and Q. So you take both the formats, and accordingly you construct truth tables in both the formats, and you show that some take alternative this way and some others take alternative this way. So in that way, you're not going to lose marks. This is the way I used to manage things over a period of time, and mostly I think this has succeeded. I think because my students, many of the students do get 97, 98. That means they are not losing marks even though attending that question. So my submission is that we should come at a parity throughout. That we should go away with the old format, and we should come up with the new coinage of the concept. Say either or sort of propositions should be called disjunctive propositions, and the propositions of the form either P or Q, but not both P and Q as alternative proposition. Because this is the format that Dasson and O'Connor book do suggest, and the students who pass this higher secondary level examination, when they go to the degree level, this is the sort of format they find. That's why should we go with this format at the higher secondary level? And rightly so, the authors of the textbook bureau has shown us the way that we should correct certain things at the intermediate or the higher secondary level. So that's my main concern. The good news is, this morning I called Dr. Goyadhar Das sir about this issue, and I was communicating about this issue with Dr. Kailas Das sir over last 1.5 year, 2 years, and today, and since many days I was communicating this issue with Goyadhar Das sir in order to bring about certain changes in his book. And today, when I called him and said, "Sir, please attend," and good news is, he said no. He said that his new edition is coming up with the new format. He has changed the concepts as per the need of the time. So that way, it's a good news for all of us. So the new edition that is coming up, I think the book of Goyadhar Das sir and Narayan Mahanti sir. So that they have now changed the format. As Dr. Goyadhar Das sir has informed me in the morning. So it's a good news for all of us. My concern is the confusion should not creep into the students, because at the end of the day, the students are going to lose the marks. Suppose a question is asked, discuss, say, alternative categorical syllogism, a mixed syllogism, alternative categorical syllogism. Suppose, or say disjunctive categorical syllogism. Suppose when it is asked disjunctive categorical syllogism, a student rightly constructs either or form a proposition in the premise, and then takes a categorical proposition in the minor premise, and takes say a categorical proposition in the conclusion. So rightly has done this. But those who are used to the old format may give that answer as wrong. So here the student is going to lose 5 marks fully, because those who are with the old format, they have not changed things in mind. Definitely, the student is the loser, though he has written the right format. So that's why, while as I said earlier also, uh, uh, whenever this higher secondary examination is over, I always interact with people who what to say, who write the scheme of examining this answer script, especially one Dr. Susan Patnaik. I remember Malab, he's in charge of writing the scheme of valuation. So always I contact him. So you see, these are the questions where the problem lies when you are going to write the scheme. If the answer, they say alternative even though the student writes alternative proposition, he should be awarded. Even the student writes disjunctive proposition, he should be awarded. So that sort of scheme should come up, and accordingly this year too, when I was evaluating, I found such sort of question was there, and I informed Dr. Sushant Patnaik sir to have a scheme where the students writing the answer as alternative proposition or disjunctive proposition, both should be awarded. The question is something like this. You see, sir, the question is something like this. It's a multiple choice question. What is the conclusion of a complex constructive dilemma? Repeat. What is the conclusion of a complex destructive dilemma? Alternatives are given: categorical proposition, hypothetical proposition, alternative proposition, disjunctive proposition. So here the student falls into a problem. According to some books, if we go by the earlier format, the conclusion would be, I say, the alternative proposition. If we go with the new pattern, it is the disjunctive proposition. And rightly so, it's the disjunctive proposition. But those who are still with the old format, they will be thinking the answer is alternative proposition and not a disjunctive proposition. So that's how the student is going to lose the mark. So again, another question where I saw is, what is, the question is something like this: what is alternative categorical mixed syllogism? So alternative categorical mixologism. So I found around 50% of the students have attempted this question by saying, taking alternative proposition as either or type of proposition. I found, well, it's not the problem. It's not actually, it's a confusion, and the problem does not lie in the student because he has studied a book which is in the old format. So I discussed with other evaluators that both the formats should be awarded. And those who are in contact with me, I called them that such sort of questions should be evaluated with a liberal face, so that the students will not lose marks. So that's how things have been managed till now. And as I said you earlier, I am managing things by discussing with my students when I take a class. Okay, so by saying that, whenever you are asked a question of alternative categorical syllogism or an alternative construction of an alternative or disjunctive truth table, so use both the formats. So discuss both the formats. According to some, this is the format. According to some, this is the format. So why I do this? Not in order to ensure that the students are not going to lose marks. So this is how I am trying to manage with my students. But what is happening, I don't know, because I saw both the views in the answer scripts, but none of the views are wrong. So in order to get rid of this problem, so 3 to 4 places where this problem exists. Number one, while discussing truth tables, the problem rises. Number one. Number two, while discussing mixed syllogisms, this problem arises. Number three, while discussing dilemma, the problem again arises. Because when you are discussing a dilemma, so we are the major premise of a dilemma is very much clear. It is a compound hypothetical propositions made of 2 hypothetical propositions. The major premise is clear. But when we talk of the minor premise, whether to call that minor premise of the form either or as alternative or disjunctive, again a problem for the students. I don't say it is a problem for the teachers, it is a problem for the students. Because the students, and I saw a question with a dilemma and I awarded the students who have written it's an alternative proposition, have written yes, it is the correct one. Even though there are students who say it's a disjunctive proposition, yes, I said it's the correct one. Because the problem lies in naming. Otherwise, when they have constructed a dilemma, they have constructed a dilemma with the format, within the form either P or Q. So there is no problem in the concept as it is. The problem lies in naming. So we should take a minimum step that this name should be taken care of, so that the students do not be suffering in the near future. At least for 1 or 2 more years, let us think that we should, whenever we are teaching logic, we should teach in both the formats and inform the students that we should um, and we should ask them to write an answer of this form, say a truth table for a alternative or a disjunctive proposition, or a mixed syllogism of involving disjunctive proposition, or a dilemma with a certain remark that there is a problem in naming. But again, it becomes a difficulty for the student because he has to answer, he or she has to answer in both the formats at least. But at least for one more year we can think of teaching our students in that way. Okay, but it cannot pertain for long. We have to come up with a uniformity to say, to assert, clearly assert in all the textbooks. Well, it's again a good news to say, to see that Professor Sarat Kumar Panigrahi sir, in his recent edition, he has switched from the old format to the new format. He is now using, in the lines of the textbook bureau, to assert an either or type of proposition as disjunctive proposition. So it's a good news again. So the things are changing. And as I said in the beginning, that when Goyadar the sir, when I talked to him in the morning, he said the revised edition is having these two concepts being named in a new format. So the final submission is, and then the final submission is that we should take either or form of propositions as disjunctive propositions, and either P or Q, but not both P and Q form of propositions as alternative proposition. So this should be the scheme throughout for the question setters, for the teachers, for the students, and also the scheme of valuation writers. So it should be uniform for all, so that the problem is gets resolved for once and for all. There stays no problem. So we should, because, and one more thing, because textbook bureau's book is the only recommended book of the council. So we should take whatever is suggested in the preface honestly, because it is the right thing that they have suggested. So after discussing, maybe because the board contains about 7 to 8 professors, very senior professors, so we should go with them, and accordingly we should deal with these concepts the modern way, the new way, as it is taken throughout the globe. So with this, with this, the naming problem somehow got resolved. But there are certain issues which I want to discuss here. If I look into the question papers, in 2010, you see a question has come in the uh, if in the form PVQ. So P well Q. So this was the question, and it was asked what sort of proposition is this, and the and the options given are implicative function, equivalence function, disjunctive function, and contradictory function. So alternative function did not appear. So it's a good news that the question setters are aware of this by saying that PVQ or the P well Q does imply a disjunctive function. So that's why it is fine. But in the later years, the question setters, while setting the question, they are loosen this, confusion has somehow crept in the later years. In 2013, very clear message was given through the question. It was asked, construct the truth table of an alternative function, clearly stating it in the symbolic form, P ought Q. Construct the truth table of an alternative function, P ought Q. So clearly, the clear message is given that an alternative function should be treated in the form of P ought Q. And thus, things are fine in 2013. But in the later years, some problems lies in setting the question, creating confusion for the students. So we should go away with this problem for one standard for all. So that is my concern. Number one. The other concern is with the the alternative proposition in the new form. That means either P or Q, but not both P and Q. One concern still lies with me. Normally, while constructing a truth table for this alternative function P ought Q, or P inverted V, okay, ought, P ought Q, Well, while constructing the truth table, the matrix number comes as 0110. Well, very nice, fine. Okay, there is no problem, because in this OR, what is implied, what is taken is either P or Q, but not both P and Q. It is clearly there. OR means that, and clearly there. But while dealing with mixed syllogisms, when we discuss alternative mixed alternative syllogism, what we do is we discuss this alternative proposition as not both P and Q. We are somehow avoiding this either P or Q. Please let me repeat this. While dealing with truth table, the problem is not there, because odd, when you say alternative function and we represent that as odd function, or say P or Q, and that matrix number is taken as 0, 1, 1, 0, there is no problem at all. But when we discuss mixed alternative syllogism, there lies the problem. Because, as I said, alternative proposition means either P or Q, but not both P and Q. So this is the total format. But what we are doing is, we are just cutting short one part. Either P or Q we are not taking. Just we are taking not both P and Q. So not both P and Q is taken as an alternative proposition. So that is another concern. Well, we are going on with this format. Certain changes have to be brought in to that also. So that is another concern, which over the period of time we should take care of that. Okay, so that right things come. Okay, so that is another area. Well, why I say this? Well, I have said this. One more thing. Okay, okay, yes. So these are the problems, and in order to get rid of these problems, um, at the level of the teachers, at the level of the question setters, and at the level of the students, we have, actually it is not a concept to be discussed. See, okay, I don't think it is a very big issue. It is a very minor issue. It is an issue with the naming of things, but it has serious implications for the students. That's why I've taken this concept. I've taken this issue. Once I've taken this issue in all Odisha philosophy seminar, but this was not well received, and still the problem persisted. That's why, after evaluating the questions this year, I thought that something has to be done, and I thought more of the teacher friends, newly joined teacher friends, would be joining this, but unfortunately that did not happen. The message has to spread through the writers. It is only when the writers correct things with a period of time will all those, the students, teachers, will have uniform reflection on these issues. So this is a short version of my entire talk. Well, what I exactly need is, what we exactly need is a discussion on this entire issue, so that we can come up with right conclusions. Thank you so much. Namaskar, everybody. Now, what I require is a sort of discussion in order to bring this issue into the right terms. Thank you all. Over to Dr. Maharana, sir.
Okay, thanks so much, Dr. Rao, for clarifying this sort of confusion which has arisen in the teaching and learning of the kinds of proposition and the truth functions of alternation and distinctions at 10 plus 2 level in okay, textbooks of Odisha. And this confusion is also due to the old practice and modern practice, as said by different authors of the textbooks. And the students get confused when they find different form of explanation in different textbooks of logic. They also get confused when they face the answer, or when they face the questions in their examination. And some authors try to clarify this problem in conformity with the standard practice adopted in different books. And I think perhaps the discussion of the today's webinar will provide accuracy and uniformity in 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 this particular issue, and it and the students will be happy and will be benefited out of this discussions. Till then, we have some confusion in mind, and why it happens and how it can be clarified in a better way. It needs the clarification of our learning participants and professors, those that are present in this webinar. May I now request Professor Dr. Ranjit Ghosh sir to put his observation on this issue. Namaskar, sir. Namaskar, Ranjit sir.
Sir, Ranjit sir is not there. Well, let us move to Pramod sir to initiate the discussion.
Okay, okay, Pramod sir. Pramod sir. Hello, Pramod sir. May I request Pramod sir to initiate the discussion? Pramod sir. Okay, please initiate the discussion. And you are requested to moderate the session also.
I have nothing to say. I really appreciate the spirit of the speaker taking this issue and justifying it in a very beautiful way. And though this program will be uploaded in YouTube, so naturally it will reach all the scholars and teachers. Okay, so now I shall request Kailash Chandra Das sir, sir, kindly have your observation on the very brief talk of Dr. Rao. We are happy that you are
Thank you, thank you. Am I audible? Okay. So I must thank Professor K. Narayanaa Rao sir that he has been very seriously discussing for at least 2 years. I remember we discussed this issue in the Philosophy Association, Odisha Philosophy Association meeting somewhere, I don't remember. But this is an issue, I think, if I remember, occurred to us something around 15 years or 16 years ago, when we were assigned to write an Odia textbook on the textbook bureau. And when I see already the English issue was there and 6 authors were there, Professor Saroj Mahanti was the head of the team. And there are some people like Professor Ramesh Das, and he's an expert in symbolic logic. They have written it. Exactly this portion, when I was writing my portion, everybody gave their writings, but I had to toil very hard. For the first time, I marked, even if I have taught it for several years to my students, I have not marked when I write. Take disjunction is occurring in a textbook for more than 3 chapters. Three chapters it is occurring. But in the same textbook, how the sense will be different in one chapter, that is symbolic chapter, and the rest of the things will be different. If you are following a tradition, it has to be same. I said that there is a problem. Actually, so I got almost 10 or 12 I read all of them, including I referred Professor Ganeshwar Mishra's book as very authentic in this direction. And Professor Darji's book was very popular. So I think Professor K. Narayan's book has not been there in the market at that time. Then it became, but when I wrote, I came with the problem to our colleagues there that look what can be done. This is what I found. Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu immediately could grasp what I'm saying. Others said that, what is your problem? There is actually no problem. So Dhaneshwar Sahu and me, we tried how to make a big change. Already in the lot of colleges, a lot of students are supposed to this. So I found what is the origin of all these things. Actually, almost all the books have tried to write, including Professor Darji's book, and they have taken from Bholanath Rai's book even. And from Bholanath Rai's book, I find that is also originating from Stebbing's logic book. So I found that Thiel's arrival of a chapter symbolic logic, the symbolic logic portion, when it was included in the textbooks, they just included it. And only in Basson and O'Connor, we find there is alternation and disjunction. Alternation is used in the sense of the exclusive sense of either or, and disjunction is the inclusive sense of either or, right? So there, I said if that is there, then let the entire book follow this method. If you are going to adopt Basson and O'Connor, and the students are taught accordingly, and we have to do this. I was finding a lot of difficulty in it convincing people, look, the disjunction that is in the old book, in the old tradition, I don't say that is wrong. That is, they have followed a tradition and they have made their meaning very clear. But we don't have the concept of a stroke function. But actually, when they are saying in as disjunction in the previous chapters, what they mean is nothing but the stroke. When they say not both P and Q, remember, underline this, not both P and Q. Not both P and Q is the disjunction in the traditional way they have written in a categorical syllogism or a dilemma chapter, it's everywhere. This not both P and Q is nothing but the modern symbolic logic stroke function. In the stroke function, what happens? Both P and Q will not be false, will not be true at a time, but all other possibilities will be. At least one of them is false. That is the meaning of stroke. And exactly this is the meaning in disjunction at that time when they're saying not both P and Q. So if we change this, lot of things has to be done. We will keep in what sense disjunction there. So I find out different solutions, and I saw all of the authors together. We made a very big discussion on this. Then we said that if we make such a drastic change, again it will further confuse everybody. So let us partially do it. So we, I don't remember, it is 15 years ago, that was the thing. And the Odia book was published and we gave a preface. Then again, the English second edition came, where the old authors were not there and new authors came into, Rambau also came into a picture. And I tried, they realized that it is not a problem of anybody, but it is a problem that all the writers of logic books, textbook writers, they should be together and write it uniformly, whatever they feel, and assign the naming of these concepts. And after finding this portion took a lot of time for us to do. Then I talked to Gayadhar Das sir. I also discussed with K. Narayan sir. He also realized immediately, sir, that there is a problem. Mukuli, please do something in your textbook, which sometime then his book was very popular among students and is one of the most popular. Textbook book was not that popular. So people do not, many students don't have textbook, Bureau's book, I know. So I said him that do something like this. Again, Gayadhar Babu was trying to understand what we are making to say. But most of the textbook writers doing one thing is just adding this Basson and O'Connor when symbology was introduced. So just adding it was not going to solve the problem. Even textbook Bureau's first edition of English book was done like this. So now that wherever it is occurring, we have to carefully, all the writers, to be carefully sit together and finalize what we are going to name this concept. So that students will not be confused, teachers are also confused in many ways. So my submission was that let us write down in the preface. And we prepared the preface that in this sense it has been used. But so many people don't read the preface because Narayan Babu is a very serious person in this matter. And many people also didn't distinguish between one thing when I said it, I said it to the council that do have a teachers orientation program for 7 days that you are having and you are entitled to have. That was happening in Kamala Nehru College where 120 teachers of logic all over the state attended. This issue, I asked something to be discussed there, but they have fixed their speakers. They have fixed their who will attend. So some logic issues were discussed, but these issues were not touched. But I think that was the right place where a lot of teachers and writers could have assembled and they could have sorted it out. So now Narayan Babu has taken up this issue again, and I think the solution lies in writers, those whoever is writing this book and which is in a circulation, much more popular books, writers, they can change it and bring about an uniformity of all these things. If the uniformity is there, and when Rao Babu was talking about questions coming like this. Suppose, for example, Rao Babu knows the problem, and if he is a question setter, he will set questions and do the what is that called evaluation sheet, that the which is right or wrong, that thing. Then he can do justice. But today somebody is given the question, other year somebody else is the question setter, somebody else is making. But if somebody is still now following that old process, and many teachers, I don't think, even if they are doing the question setting business, they may not be also aware of the changes. They remain there where that is the problem. So people, those who are going to make the scheme of evaluation, those who are doing they're going to do the question setting even, they should be aware of it. And first of all, we should have a uniformity, that I agree with the Professor Rao, and that I was shouting since last 15 years or 20 years that let be done. So this was discussed, and many people don't distinguish between not both P and Q, P or Q, but not both. P or Q, either P or Q, but not both, to be something same. So they don't distinguish the difference. P or Q, but not both is the exclusive sense. Not both P and Q is the old way of a string disjunction. Now it is called stroke. We have to realize these things. So if you realize these things, then we can easily see how can we bring about this uniformity. Rao Babu, do you get this point?
Sir, exactly. Very nice, sir. Very nice, sir.
So we have to first realize that not both P and Q is used as disjunction, whereas P or Q, but not both, is the exclusive sense of either or. So if many, I was not able to convince even some old teachers, senior teachers, that there is a distinction like look, and this not both P and Q is nothing but the stroke function. So if there is a stroke function, what is the ODI for stroke function, we have to find out. Again, while writing this ODI book, we find a lot of difficulties because this chapter was assigned to me again. And I toiled very hard to find what is the word. There is a Sanjojaka, there is a Bijojaka. Then can we have another word to say that it is Asanjojaka? So because if a new word we are going to stipulate, then it will be again enormous problem. So out of all these things, we made a very good brainstorming, and Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu realized that yes, I was teaching last established meaning of the term. So we cannot easily stipulate. That is the whole problem. If you easily stipulate some new word to it, it will further complicate the situation and we will have a lot of difficulties in explaining our students or teachers that okay, this is the tradition but where. But that's why we have, because there was a lot of time possibility, we could not. I just write it in the preface that how this formulation is being done. And now it is time that it is a the most of the writers should be unitedly sit together in a workshop and find it solutions with some people, those who are either written the books, or they have something very important to suggest and add. I think there are a lot many people. Again, council wrote a book for correspondence course. Council also gave some assignment to 4-5 people. I was also there, a person, to write a book for the distance mode students, those who like to appear in +2 level. There also we have tried to do things that Professor Ganeshwar Das was the head of the team. And that book is not very popular and nobody is finding that. That is, the council is giving only perhaps to some people. There also the problem is not solved in council's book. But we have suggested all these things in council book. That is, I have to check again whether council book has incorporated the changes that is required. So this is how Gayadhar Babu was convinced that yes, we have to bring about uniformity. And Narayan K. Omna Babu is also involved from that day, because I was able to convince him. Immediately he was convinced that yes sir, there is a problem you have really found out. And then he did some research again, and he was discussing me all through, Rao Babu, with regard to this issue, how it can be resolved. And my only botheration is that in same book there cannot be two meanings of the term that is being used. So that is what we wanted to avoid at the first instance. So the writers themselves must be convinced first. They should know that what is the problem. Many writers are not realizing that what is the problem. That is the whole issue. So we will request all writers. I think Rao Babu's book is in much popularity, and Gayadhar Das book is also in popularity. Other books, I don't think that Darji's book is how much popular, I don't know right now and present situation. But we have to see, anybody who is writing or the publisher has to be contacted on this matter and can have an arrangement to sit together and finalize it for all time to come. So this is what my observation with regard to these points, and I have already thought very seriously about it and tried to do whatever bit with the parents whom I know that they can respond, and those who could not understand there is an issue, I have tried in vain. I also talked to Professor Saroj Mahanti about this thing. He said, yes, what is your issue actually? Because I think he has not gone deeply inside. So he was first astonished. Then he said that, yes, that has to be done. They said, okay, but let us see. And I will see that Narayan Babu should contact, and he has already in contact with all writers. He will bring about something. And whenever you suggest, I will also give my own suggestion how it best can be done. And others are there. Those who have pointed out, some teachers, young teachers also have pointed to me over phone. Sir, this is the problem. I have said that, look, this is the problem. And this is how it can be solved. So I have taken a lot of time. Thank you.
Now I am asking to Dr. Rao, because logic and mathematics, that is universal. It is whether this problem is local or global. Suppose some writers of Odisha will decide and they will prepare a book. So this problem may be solved in Odisha. Is it a problem for Odisha?
It's a problem. It's a problem. Actually, for the whole globe. I say
Globe.
because over a period of time, okay, certain changes have been marked, and with these changes, we have to be in touch, and accordingly, we have to change ourselves. So, okay, as you pointed out, in different other states, these changes have been incorporated. Either or form of propositions are clearly taken as disjunctive propositions. There is no issue at all at the national level when we look to Irving Copy's book or Bassin O'Connor's book or any other book, good book in logic. There is no problem at all. The problem persists in Odisha because of the writers who have not tried to understand what Kailash Das sir was saying. He was pointing out the issue, the problem since long, but no one was actually ready to come up with problem. I remember the seminar, the orientation program that was conducted at Kamala Nehru College long back, I think in 2002 or 3, something like that, 2002 or 3. So 20 years back, he was pointing that issue in that conference. I was not a writer that time. I had not written logic that time. Kailash sir was pointing at this issue. Nobody took care of. He said, this is the pattern that was globally accepted. Why this discrepancy that we maintain in the books, okay, of logic in our state? That will create problems for the students who go outside to study logic. That will create a problem. So Kailash sir was pointing at this issue long back, and he has discussed with me in that conference. And I thought, yes, you're doing the right thing. But those experts who had who were given the charge of delivering the lectures, they did not take care of this issue, and that simply left it black. So the concern was there with Dr. Das since long, and he has researched lot of things, and finally the output that has come, that he tried to incorporate in the bureau's book through Ramesh Das sir, Saroj Mahanti sir, and he himself, Dhaneshwar sir, and everybody. And finally, I myself and Dr. Anup Rai sir, who he also got convinced. Anup sir also got convinced that these changes have to be incorporated, and accordingly, we also changed the structure in our books that we have written. So some changes have been made in some books, but not there in other books. Still, the problem persists. So that is to be taken care of. That is the issue. But one thing, still the problem lies, which Kailash Das sir has properly, rightly maintained, even in all books, I say, the problem still persists. What is that? While taking an alternative proposition, the new format, we simply take alternative proposition as not both P and Q. But exactly that is not an alternative proposition. That is an alternative proposition divided into two, and whatever we are taking, not both P and Q, is actually a stroke function. It is not an alternative function. But very well, confidently, I have been using, because I thought of bringing a change, because if I bring a change, then again that will affect the student community. Because if I deal this mixed alternative syllogism in the actual format, the new format, the students will write differently, the evaluators will say it is wrong, and they will be awarded wrong for writing the right thing. That's why I did not try to disturb this. So Kailash Das sir rightly pointed, even now the alternative proposition is taken in the partial sense as not both P and Q. That is not exactly an alternative proposition. That is truly a stroke function. So this is to be taken care of in the later editions of our books, but that is to be taken only when all the authors come together and sit and talk about it. Because if I am thinking of, because my books I'm revising my books now, if I try to incorporate a change, the students will write in a new line, but they will not be awarded marks even for writing the right thing. So there will again a problem. So that's why I'm trying to avoid this correction at this stage, even though there is a mistake. So very nicely, Kailash Das sir has tried to point this issue, that alternative function is exactly either P or Q, but not both P and Q. That is the true sense of an alternative proposition. But we are taking a stroke function as an alternative function. This has to be again changed over a period of time. Thank you so much, sir, for your observations. Thank you so much.
Dr. Rao,
Sir,
if this question will come in NET exam, which is
sir.
which is conducted nationally.
Sir,
There all the candidates from different states are appearing.
sir.
So what will be the answer?
Huh. Sir, answer is alternative proposition. Whenever we are discussing the alternative proposition that we are discussing in our logic books at the present time is wrong, because we are dividing an alternative proposition into two parts and we are taking the stroke function wrongly as an alternative function. I know this, I know this problem, but I'm not changing it, because if I change, the student community will be affected. That is the concern again. So that's why I'm not changing. Galadha sir rightly pointed out that thing. So unless and until the authors come together, sit together, this problem cannot be chalked out. So that's the concern. The students should not be awarded, because actually the plus two books are meant for the higher secondary students. And even if they are not awarded marks for writing the right thing, then the student community has to suffer. So I'm not changing it. Sometimes we have to sit together, we have to plan out, and then we can change it. So when you talk of nationally, when you appear for net examinations and all that, we have to take alternative proposition as either P or Q, but not both P and Q. That is the format we need to take. Not both P and Q is not exactly an alternative proposition. It is a stroke function, as Professor Valadas has pointed out. Very
Thank
nicely
you,
here.
thank
And
you,
I should
sir.
thank Dr. Valadas sir for inciting this thought to me 15, 20 years back, and for all this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Das.
Thank you, Dr. Rao.
Thanks, thanks.
As the co-author, always the Professor Anup Rai has worked with you, so we shall expect few words from him.
Thank you, Pramod. After the deliberation of Om and, of course, of Kailash after him, there is nothing left to be discussed. I must congratulate our young philosopher, Om, for the passion he has within. On this particular issue, we have discussed several times. Every time he will call me and tell me, and we will discuss. And not only me, because he is my co-author, naturally he will discuss with me. But he has called several teachers and many authors on this issue and tried to convince them. And when everything failed, he thought of coming to this platform and to discuss the issue. I hoped that many teachers will join this platform today to have a lively discussion with the issue. The talks of Kailash sir is very much informative and convincing. I thank him. But here also I should ask Kailash sir, have you got any Odia word for stroke? Because we, in our English degree book, we couldn't get one, so we have used in Odia stroke. Sir, Kailash sir, have you got any word for stroke function?
Oh, we we sometimes thought that can we have the word asanjojaka? And I also said that look, if you're putting some stipulations right here, maybe it will be difficult. I was not very brave to put that word there. And we also think of some other words. So I was not daring to do that because our friends are so conservative that they will say, what the hell are you doing 1 second? And creating the whole system disturb. So I didn't took that revolutionary step, but I was trying to say that is let me say it is a bijojak and that is sanjojak, asanjojak. Sanjojak is there, asanjojak can you do? And then Professor Dhanesar sir said, okay, asanjojak will do for stroke, no problem. Well, sir, let stroke be stroke. So
It will give stroke to many people.
it'll be otherwise it will create a lot of stroke. So we'll let us not stipulate further complicated problems. And already there is a lot of misunderstanding. And I am not able to convince a very simple thing to many senior people even that this, as Rao Babu had said, that not both P and Q, P or Q, but not both. This distinction people are not able to accept easily. So I thought that if this is not, I am going to convince, able to convince even senior professors, then what else about stipulating a new word? So I gave up the idea of stipulating anything. I said, let it be stroke, so that
So,
in
sir, we
future.
have following the word stroke in our Odia book.
That is, I think after a lot of deliberation, we think that let it be there. The English version is there. Our Odia people can understand this stroke as a stroke, no problem. A lot of English words are there now. We
Yes,
have
yes.
Odiatized. So Odia language will be stronger by having English word in that. So
Yes.
that's what we have thought like this.
At least now we should follow this.
Yes,
Till,
let us follow it. And I
and
will like to
your idea is
I will Rai Babu, I would like to point out one thing also. While writing the book, my portion, I think other authors are not having a lot of problems. But why I am having all the problems? I stumbled. I stumbled on one idea, that is the existential import of propositions and Aristotelian. What is that? The Aristotelian classification of this opposition of a proposition is crumbled after Boolean interpretation of this. And these originated from the existential import of propositions. And textbook is having a syllabus that was there. And when I find, I was astonished to see none of the books, none of the textbooks have clarified the concept of existential import of propositions. He said, if that is not being done by authors, how questions will come, how students will teach? But when I researched, I wrote an article on this existential import of proposition in one of the seminars of All Odisha Philosophy Association, and later on also I told it in Indian Philosophical Congress to some people, and also presented the paper in a revised version. There, few scholars told me, sir, actually what are we going to do? Well, this is what this Aristotelian opposition of proposition is crumbling. If you are accepting Boolean algebra, that is what we are reading. But the origin is from here. It has come from here. That what we mean by existential import of proposition. So there, they said really their textbooks in Madhya Pradesh, textbooks in that was taught in Lucknow University under the colleges, they have also not made very clear clarifications. So one fellow from Lucknow University came to me and so, sir, this is our textbook. Oh, please bring. So we researched there for some time. So when I came to the council as one of the members of the syllabus committee, then I requested, please delete this portion from the syllabus. You need not teach this thing. And because books are not very clear about it, and teachers, I doubt if anybody has thoroughly understood it, so better to delete it. And everybody agreed, sir, yes, this portion is becoming very difficult to at least convince people to teach. So existential import was not there in the syllabus from that day. So that is also a very, very painful experience that we are not able to convey something very nice to, which is a very good topic also. So that was there. So we said, and everybody agreed, yes, sir, that is a problem, sir. We should not have it in syllabus right now because unnecessarily the student cannot be taught and communicated easily on this matter. So that's all about this. I want to have this about my experience at least. Thank you.
Sir, with this, with this, not only students are suffering of getting 1 or 2 marks in exams, it is also they getting them ill prepared for the further studies, for the degree or further studies. That is the greater problem.
Right.
That they are here, they are reading in one way. When they are going to Bessener or Staving or Coupe, they are getting a different concept.
That is really disturbing. That is disturbing.
That is disturbing. For the sake of the future of the students, then when they will go to the higher studies, what will they think of us? When they will realize that so
that is correct. That I very seriously felt about it that our students should be minimum 8 for the national level.
Yes.
And I discussed this in one of the refresher courses in Vishwabharati as well as in Jadavpur University. One Aparna madam was there, was very prompt in that course. She came forward with a solution. How Bengalis have done it? They said that yes, we have done like this. So they have been better to some extent, but they have also not finally done anything the way we have done. But English books are all right. But they are also teaching in Bengali medium up to their
Bengali,
BA
yes.
classes. I came to know they are teaching lot of things in Bengali. So they have to. So that was that is the thing we have discussed with a lot many people.
So, sir, now I shall have a philosophical question because today we are discussing very informally about a very beautiful topic. As Descartes said that mathematics is certain. That means from today's discussion, it appears that even there is great confusion in logic and mathematics. How do you?
One thing, sir.
No. Rao, there is Pramod Babu has said the question that mathematics is not a uncertainty with the mathematics, that is not there. But we are having a problem in naming the concept. With regard to the concept, it is clarified. But we are not we are having two names to one thing or one name for three things. That is our confusion. Just a naming problem. Rao Babu has very correctly said. This is a naming problem, not with regard to uncertainty. Uncertainty with regard to naming.
Okay.
That is a linguistic uncertainty.
Yes,
But
yes.
this is not a mathematical uncertainty.
Yes, it is said by him. It is said by him. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, one thing, sir. Sir, one thing. Well,
I
Koilas
just
Das
made a
has-
joke. I just made a joke. Thank you.
Sir, Koilas Mahanas, sorry, Kailas Das sir has brought in two things to my mind. Okay, number one, he has incited to think of this problem, alternation disjunction issue long back. And I remember in one EOPA sir was presenting a paper on the existential import, and he discussed this issue. And after that, I tried to reflect on this issue, and I tried to work on it. If you permit, in 1-2 minutes, I can say that this can be very convincing. What we say, the problem in existential import, what happens is, we say that universal propositions are existentially negative and particular propositions are existentially affirmative. So if this is the case, so how a universal proposition from A that is existentially negative, from it, how can we derive I, a particular proposition that is said to have existential import? Now, in order to understand this problem, I have framed it out by taking the help of Cohen and Nagel's book and some other sources. I made two interpretations to understand this existential import problem. One, suppose say, when I say, I take a universal proposition, say, all men are good. Say, all men are good. What does this mean? This means that if there is a man, all men are good means to say, if there is a man, then he is good. So try to understand, let us underline this line, the first part, the antecedent part. If there is a man, then he is good. So there is the problem. So it does not say this very hypothetical proposition does not say that there is a man. It does not say there is a man. It says if there is a man, then he is good. Okay, so problem, there is no existential import in universal proposition. But when we talk of a particular proposition, say some men are good. When I say some men are good, what is the format for this? There is the format is there is at least one man, and that man is good. There is at least one man. So we are saying when to say some men are good, we are saying there is at least one man, and that man is good. So this is how the particular propositions have existential import, because you are saying when you are accepting a particular proposition, we are saying there is at least one man, and the man is and that man is good. So in this way, the particular proposition is having an existential import. But when you are taking a universal proposition, all men are good. So we are saying if there is a man. So the confusion there, if there is a man, we are not sure whether the man is there or not. So that's why universal proposition lack to have existential import. That's why we say universal propositions are existentially negative. So this is one way of understanding this. And in one interpretation, this is one way of understanding this issue. After you presented the problem, I tried to work on this, and this is one way of understanding this. There is another way of to understand this also. What is that? When we say all S is P or we say no S is P, so these are universal propositions, universal affirmative and universal negative proposition. So you see, why we say that universal propositions do not have an existential import is this, another interpretation. Why? If I say all crows are black, universal proposition, but it doesn't have an existential import. Why? Because if we come across one instance of crow being not black, it is going to refute this universal proposition. The entire structure of the universal proposition will fall into nothing. When I say all men are good, and if I come across even a single man who is not good, then this all men are good will not stay. So it will fall down. So that's why universal propositions do not have an existential import. But when I say some men are good, so we say there is at least one man and he is good. So that's why existential propositions are universal. Existential propositions have, particular propositions have existential import. So these are the two ways I have tried to locate in order to understand the existential import, the problem of existential import that you have pointed out during that conference. And well, we have not discussed about this issue. This is how I try to understand this issue. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Rao,
Okay,
Dr. Rao,
Pramod sir,
universal quantifier may be interpreted like this. When we say all men are mortal, here we are speaking about existential import plus implication.
Sir, your voice is not, sir, please be loud, sir.
Hello.
Now clear, sir.
Um, uh, in case of a universal quantifier, we may interpret like this: all men are mortal. Here we have both existential existential plus implication. Because if you reject existential import, then that means it is no man are mortal. So when we say all men are mortal, it implicitly it indicates the existence plus implication. If X is a man, X is mortal. Do you think that the existential import is rejected here, or implicitly it is there?
Yes, logically speaking, the problem lies there also. Because when we say all men are mortal, there also we have got to assume if there is a man, well, we do understand there is a man, but we have to assume if there is a man. Okay, so there the element of problem creeps in, especially logically speaking. If there is a man, okay, then he is mortal. So there is a man. Okay, that is not guaranteed. That is not guaranteed. But when you say particular proposition, some men are mortal, it is guaranteed. There is at least one man. So logically, in the logical format, existential import, the problem of existential import, it's a logical problem. It is not in the material world. There is no problem. It is a logical problem. I say the problem of existential import. It is mostly a logical problem, and the structural problem, a formal problem. So universal whatever the universal proposition may be, so it has to be in a structure. If X, then Y. Okay, so if this X becomes a problem, if you don't know the existential structure of the X, okay, we can never guarantee that. I'm not saying that is not there. We cannot guarantee that logically, but it is not there logically. But when you say a particular proposition, you are clearly saying there is at least a man, or there is at least a man. So you are saying at least one man. So the import come out structurally is inbuilt. So that is the problem. That is the submission.
Okay.
No. The analysis of a universal proposition is when we try to understand what is a universal proposition is all about. Symbolically, they have analyzed it to equivalent of, it is a hypothetical proposition actually. All universal propositions are hypothetical propositions. Pramod Babu has pointed out, if it is an X, then it is a Y. So all men are mortal says that if it is a man, then it is mortal. But it does not imply or it does not assert that man exists or not. If there is a man, then it is immortal. But the existence of man is not there. So existential liberty doesn't have. Universal propositions lack existential liberty in this sense. The analysis is made that it is a hypothetical proposition. So, but the particular propositions are not hypothetical. But again, there will be a problem when we convert an universal to a particular by quantification principles. Universal can be converted to a particular, and a particular can be converted to, using negation and others. Then again, we have to put our mind to see how it happens. So so that's how it will be interesting to investigate.
It's a good question, sir.
Rightly so, sir. So long back, I
How
remember.
conversion and aversion are possible if universal propositions lack existential import? It's a very good question. Thank you, sir.
Sir,
So,
one thing that comes to my mind long back when Dr. Dayanidhi Satpathy, you might be knowing, sir. Okay, he knew that I am writing a book on logic. He asked me one question: are you finding any problem while writing the book? That question somehow baffled me. I didn't get his sense. He said, if you are not coming across any problem, you are not contributing anything new. And today I could understand that Professor Das was right in his sense. While writing a book, he has come across problems, and it is his exercise, his workout, finally that could really pump into my mind 20 years back, and that really helped me. So it was the exercise of Professor Kailash Das sir that really helped me to shape out certain things. So bringing two things together, Dr. Satpathy's assertion, are you finding some problem in writing this book? I said no, but Kailash Das sir found a problem while writing a book. So the problem that he found, he communicated to me and others. Okay, somehow I got convinced with his advice, and somehow I think I was on the beneficial side. Thank you. I should doubly thank for this Professor Das.
Actually, WhatsApp is really needed for that. WhatsApp, as Kailash sir has told.
Sir, I could not get your voice, sir. Sir, what? I could not get your voice.
As Kailash sir has suggested, a WhatsApp of teachers is really needed at this time.
Yes, sir.
Yes. We should approach the council to have it. Previously they were having workshops where a lot of teachers were participating. I was also a participant there. I was not a speaker. But the speakers were there, but they have avoided these topics which are really the teachers are facing in the class. They were given assigned you take a class and they take a class of their interest and their research topic, something like that. So I found that this was not very purposeful, but this was gathering, and council was sponsoring this. Lot of money was spent. But now those who are in the council, we can approach them at least that please conduct something like that, so that for several things, and let us discuss that in threadware, and so that lot of teachers can be communicated at the same time.
Yes, sir.
And again, this is something where this cannot be consumed in a forum like this, but the right people are also not called for the right purpose, for the right place. That is the unfortunate part of our existence. So, but we have to bear with that and again find out ways and means.
Sir,
So, I have suggested Rao Babu's name to some forum that he should be included, but I find that his name is not there. So anyway, that's another story. We have to fight that also. Thank you.
Sir. Hello.
I am asking to
Rohan sir.
Kailash Das sir.
Uh-huh.
Can it be a PhD thesis if anybody desires to do on this?
This cannot be a PhD thesis because the scope of a PhD thesis is much larger. So this will be a clarificatory issue. issue. And it is just is not any innovative competence needed to do something. It is just a clarificatory thing that traditionally we have done like this. So it is a kind of arranging things properly for our better communication. So I don't think this will be a fit topic for PhD. PhD scope is much larger and a lot of scope for your innovation is there and new ideas are there, new findings can be there. So here there is nothing like that. Here simply what we do is to clarification of some concepts we are going to do, there we lack. Some understanding problem is there. That's all.
Over to Dr. Narayanaa.
Okay. So I don't find any neither the global problem on in connection with the alternation and disjunction issue or not in existential input issue. So I do face a local problem, that is the naming the terms in Odia language. As most of the students in Odisha are now appearing logic paper in Odia language, I can find some problems that in naming the terms, particularly actually when the authors are writing a Vaikalpika Tarkavakya and Bijojoka Tarkavakya, some authors are writing the Vaikalpika instead of Bijojoka and Bijojoka in place of the Vaikalpika. They have no infirmity at all. It is one problem. And you can also find it in different books. That is when they are classifying the propositions. It is found, and it is also found in the symbolic logic chapter. And another thing, most significant term is used wrongly. That is in when they are naming the negative proposition as non-jarthaka. But the non-jarthaka is not the real term for the negative. I can say that the Professor Ganesha Mishra has used the negative proposition or the term negative as non-yarthaka, or you may say non-yarthaka. But in most of the Odia books, the authors are writing non-jarthaka to name the negative, a proposition. Non-jarthaka tarka vakya. That is, I need the clarification of all the learned professor like Professor Parasthanda sir, Professor Anup sir, and Dr. Rao. Okay, to reflect on this problem.
Yes, we have read, we
Naming
have
the-
used the word non-jarthaka, right? We'll
Yes,
think
right.
of it. Thank you.
No, Professor Ganesha Mishra has used it as a non-yarthaka or no-yarthaka.
He's the authentic source, of course.
And I have also referred it in books. In book, it is there non-yarthaka or non-yarthaka. But in most of the books, it is written non-jarthaka. It is one thing, and Vaikalpika and Vijayaka are the two terms which are also wrongly used in the books.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maharana, for your suggestions. Well, Vaikalpika, Bijajoko, that has been taken care of, but this Neorthaka, this for negative proposition, the non-jarthaka Tarkavakya, that has to be taken care of. Well, we'll look into that. Professor Anup sir has a better knowledge of Odia, and I can take things.
You
Okay.
are no less man. You are no less.
Should I say that with regard to Kailas Babu's point? So look, many books are writing Nanjarthaka, and so it has been in circulation. So popularly it is accepted. So what if you have accepted something so popularly, there is a scope of changing it is I don't think not advisable. But I must say that Professor Ganeshwar Mishra has very rightly used that word. So that could have been popular. But unfortunately, we have all adopted Nanjarthaka. Again, in this connection, I will say, we are all translating proposition as Tarka Vakya in Odia. Propositions translation is Tarka Vakya, but Ganeshwara Mishra does not do like this. He does not use Tarka Vakya. He says Tarka Vachana. And all my analysis with Sanskrit people and linguist people, I find the best translation of our proposition is Tarka Vachana, not Tarka Vakya. But Tarka Vakya is very popular in all books. Nobody cared to see the language analysis of Oriya, how a Vachana is different from a Vakya. So if you distinguish between proposition and sentence very clearly in English, how can you think that in Oriya in the similar way? So Professor Ganeshwar Mishra was very justifiably, very nicely, brilliantly said it is Tarka Vachana. But many of them didn't accept his formulation. Writers started writing the Vakya and the Tarka Vakya. Tarka Vakya is a proposition, Vakya is a sentence. Finished. And it became convenient. But it would have been better if we have used Tarka Vachana for proposition, translation. Because if you remember, I tell my students in classes, there is a very beautiful song by some Hindi poet, Hamara Bachan ek hai, lekin bhasha anek hai. This Bachan is saying about proposition. We say the same proposition. We have so many sentences in so many languages. Exactly why we are saying that in each language, the same proposition is expressed. This singer is saying the same thing. Bachan ek hai, lekin bhasha anek hai. Here, Bachan word is very important. And Tarka Vakya, we are accustomed, we are habituated. So let us not change it. Let it be Tarka Vakya. But another better word was there, Tarka Vachan, to my mind. That Tarka Vachan could have been better used. But we have also used to Tarka Vakya because it is in currency and it is popular and let us not confuse. Okay. But Ganeshwara Mishra has written Tarka Vachana. Ganeshwara Mishra has also said Nanyarthaka. So Nanyarthaka could have been better choice. But let us not so many change to further confuse people. People are already confused. Right? So this is my suggestion regarding this, and Kailas Babu has very good, beautifully pointed out these problems. These problems are come to my mind also, while how to translate into Odia. If we have beautiful words in Odia, why not use them? So to use good words in Odia, to translation also is not a very easy job and not everybody's cup of tea. I tell you, translation is very, very important because not only the spirit, if you have the right words with you, in our Odia language also, we could have used that. So to do that, a writer has to be very brilliant. Thank you.
Kailas sir, we shall go for vote of thanks. Over to Kailas Narayanaa sir.
Just in one line, let me say. Well, we have in our Odia books, we have made usage of Tarka Vachana, but we have combined even the usage of Tarka Vakya. So at certain places, we have written Tarka Vachana, and certain places we have made the usage of Tarka Vakya. So mixed things.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Dr. Rao and Dr. Das. So today it's a very good session for all of us, for the benefit of the teachers and for the benefit of the students of our state and other states. And Professor Narayanaa Rao has very clearly reflected the issue of the confusion and how it has arisen and its method that has been accepted in different textbooks. He has also pointed out the problem as it is found globally and locally, and he has tried to give an accuracy and uniformity so that it will be benefited for all of us. So today, Professor Rao has given a very good lecture on this issue, because this issue has confused so many students and teachers, and students get confused while getting the teaching from the teachers and while they are appearing in examination. So today it has been also added by the observation made by Professor Palestine Das and Professor Anup Das, Professor Anukumar Rai, and Professor Pramod Pantas has also given his observation on this issue. And today we have also discussed the problem of the existential import and universal import. Okay, it has also been clarified. Today we have also discussed the local problems in naming the terms. Today, so most of the problems that we have been facing for a long time, it has been discussed and it has been clarified. So I think the students of our state and abroad, they will be benefited out of this talk and out of this reflective presentation made by Professor Rao and the discussion made by Professor Das, Professor Roy, and Professor Pramod Kumar Das. I can also find the observation made in chat box by Shravani Mishra Madam and others. So today, I offer my gratitude to Professor Om Narayanaa Rao because he has pointed out this problem for a long time, and he has tried to bring bring a uniformity in it, and he has tried to bring an accurate issue to present an accurate problem, accurate thing before the students. So today, I extend my hearty gratitude to Professor Om Narayanaa Rao for bringing this issue and for making a good solution of this issue before the students and before the audience. I would like to offer my gratitude to Professor Palestine Das sir, because after the lecture made by Professor Om Narayanaa Rao, Professor Palestine Das sir has given a very beautiful observation and very comprehensive issue before us, and it has also enlightened all of us. It has benefited all of us. I offer my gratitude to him. I extend my gratitude to Professor Anup Rai sir, because he is an expert writer in Odia language and in English language, and he has written so many books on Odia language. So he has also given his observation on this issue. Professor Pramod Kumar Das has given a beautiful observation by synthesizing all the talks and all the observation made in this webinar. So I also propose my vote of thanks to all the teachers and students those are present in this webinar, because they have been benefited out of a lot, benefited a lot out of this discussion. So on behalf of Philosophy family, I extend my thanks and I extend my gratitude to all the teachers in this webinar. And with this, once again, I offer my gratitude to all the viewers present in today's webinar. Thanks so much.
I shall request Dr. Kailash Das sir and Anup Rai sir, because we have not heard them since long in Philosophy family. So kindly select beautiful topics. We shall hear you, sir. Kailash Das sir and Anup Rai sir. Hello?
Hello.
Sir, are you
I
hearing?
think,
Yes.
Kailash sir, please.
Kailash Das sir, yeah,
Sure,
we
sure.
request you.
I'll try to find out a topic so that we can discuss.
Very soon, very soon. We shall do it in December, okay? Because
Okay, okay.
November is packed. And
Okay.
Anup Rai sir too. You are too.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
We shall communicate in WhatsApp, okay?
Okay.
With this meeting is declared closed. Thank you all. I'm grateful to all. Thank you.
Thank you.